bang on, and we welcome. So I think acknowledgement, recognition, and connecting them more into our, the northern or mainstream as they call it, though I think these distinctions are really dissolving, and we are all connected and we are all one. But I think that is very important. And some of these women, like Nari, I was just telling you, Nari Shakti Puraskar was given to Rita from Arunachal, who's making wine and cheese. There's so many women who've started taking up these small, organic farming, for example, the raw fruits and products. So there is this lady who's making bamboo, created a bamboo industry. And she keeps talking to me sometimes the kind of problems she faces. We are also talking about the kind of support they get from banks, to authorities, to all those, startup chain that they have to, they have problems in, but they are doing it. And these are all kinds of things, small cafes that they have started. Somebody has started homestay. But I think number of women are now doing that. In fact, one of the points that I was proposing is that how, the IIM, let's say one in Shillong or some other management institutes can actually train them, create, I would in fact also ask for that there should be a separate division where their training is specifically given to these women entrepreneurs from Northeast. And then also how their talent can be recognized here when they are put in, in important positions. There are women who are in industry. I was coordinating with this FICCI ladies organization who had a woman president there from the Northeast Affairs desk. And she told us, some of the problems that these women face. Because, okay, you saw that there is an opportunity to create a small organization, company or a startup, but then how to take it ahead. I think that's where government is trying again. And I think government needs to do much more there, I would say, so that talent really gets broader kind of platform. And that will be very important because these are some of the very unique kind of stuff. For example, turmeric, we know, is a very valuable product, in Northeast, and it is celebrated worldwide. Uska jo product hai wo bahut hi, you would know, Rami, is really really known globally. Now वहाँ पे बहुत सारी महिलाएं काम कर रही हैं जो उनको लेकर आगे बढ़ा रही. तो जो लघु उद्योग की जब हम बात करते हैं, मुझे नॉर्थ ईस्ट में ये बहुत ज्यादा दिखता है क्योंकि उन महिलाओं ने इसको सही में कैपिटलाइज किया है, इस पे काम करना शुरू किया है. लेकिन मुश्किलें हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल, जब मैं अपने शो में उनसे ऑनलाइन बात कर रही थी तो उनको मोबाइल नेटवर्क ही नहीं मिल पाया कई बार, तो उनकी सिर्फ आवाज कैप्चर कर पाए हैं. सो दिस प्रॉब्लम ऑफ कनेक्टिंग. सो सम ऑफ दीज थिंग्स कैन बी लुक्ड एट and supported, and I think that will be, as she said, for the overall development also of the region. I think women will play a very, very vital role. And as she said, one of the points, Priyanka, which you asked her, but I would like to add, ये आपने family upbringing की जो बात की थी, उसमें हमने लड़कियों को जरूर बताना है. she said, ऑनलाइन में आप कैसे अलर्ट रहें, सतर्क रहें, बट साथ साथ हमें लड़कों को बताना है कि ये जो एंटाइटलमेंट की बात है उसमें इन्वॉल्व बहुत ज्यादा ना हो जाए. उनको ये लगता है बचपन से, और ये परवरिश की प्रॉब्लम है, कि उनको लगता है कि हम जो भी चाहें वो कर सकते हैं, हम जो चाहें मिल जाता है, हम जो मांगे हमें मिल जाना चाहिए. सो दैट एंटाइटलमेंट समटाइम्स लीड्स टू प्रॉब्लम्स व्हेन दे बिकम एडल्ट्स, बिकॉज फिर उनको आदत नहीं होती है कि हम ना सुने, फिर उनको आदत नहीं होती कि हम पीछे खड़े हैं, फिर उनको आदत नहीं होती है कि हम एडजस्ट करें, अकोमोडेट करें. So that upbringing, I think, for conversation and communication with boys at home, and especially I think the onus here is on parents, especially mothers also, to really tell them what is right and wrong, rather than just curbing the freedom of the girl child at home, saying कि तुम अपने आप को adjust कर लो, जल्दी कर लो, ये कर लो. लड़कों को भी बताएं. And in fact, one of the things I individually propose is that I want to talk to boys and understand what is their problem, what problems they go through, because उनकी जो अपब्रिंगिंग का लेयरिंग है, जहाँ वो एडल्ट बनते हैं, न सिर्फ ये कि वो अच्छे सिटीजन बन पाएंगे अगर उनकी अच्छी अपब्रिंगिंग होगी, बल्कि वो विमेन के साथ डील अच्छा कर पाएंगे. सो दैट इज
तो छोटे से किस्से के साथ मैं बात को आगे बढ़ाना चाहती हूँ कि मैं मेरी एक जो मेट थी, शी वॉज वेरी वरीड. वन डे व्हेन आई केम बैक होम, मैंने उससे पूछा क्या प्रॉब्लम क्या है. तो बोलती है कि दीदी मुझे घर जाना है, मेरा बेटा बेटी को बहुत मार रहा है. तो मैंने कहा कि तुम बेटी को भी बोलो कि भाई समझाए, नहीं तो तुम समझाओ या तो बोलो वापस मारे. बोले नहीं, वो डर जाती है, वो बेटा छोटा है, एज में छोटा है, बट ही इज लिटिल हेवीली बिल्ट. सो दोनों में जब भी लड़ाई होती है तो बेटी बड़ी होने के बावजूद बहुत पिटती है और वो बहुत डरती है अपने भाई से. एंड शी वॉज क्राइंग. तो मैंने कहा तुम उसको बार बार समझाओ ना कि तुम फिजिकली जरूर वीक हो बट मेंटली तो उसको थोड़ा स्ट्रेंथ दो. एंड शी वॉज नॉट ओके विद दिस आइडिया ऑफ मी आस्किंग कि अब बोलो कि नहीं, यू कैन डू इट, यस यू कैन. जो बात है बड़ी पावरफुल बात है. नो मीन्स नो, ये फ्रेजेस लगते हैं बट दे आर वेरी पावरफुल, दे आर पावर पैक, पावर हाउसेज हैं. तो उसको मैंने 3-4 बार, मैंने तुमने से बोला अपनी बेटी को तुम कर सकती हो, अगर तुमको मारे तुम वापस उसको बताओ कि तुम भी मार सकती हो. तो मैं बोल करके भूल गई. 10-15 दिन बाद उसने वापस मुझे बोला, दीदी मैं धीरे धीरे बोलती रही, तुम डरती क्यों हो भाई से, डरती क्यों हो भाई से. और फाइनली हुआ ये कि उसने एक बार बहुत खुश ये होकर के मुझे ये बताई थी कि उसने भी उसको 2 तमाचे जड़े. तो ये कॉन्फ्लिक्ट की बात मैं नहीं कर रही हूँ, केवल इसकी बात कर रही हूँ कि आपको मेंटल स्ट्रेंथ बच्चों को एटलीस्ट लड़कियों को देना बहुत जरूरी है कि यू कैन डू इट, यू कैन गो अलोन, यू कैन डू दिस. तो पेरेंट्स का एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रोल है. Coming back to the conflict, we were talking about conflict area, insurgent area in northeast. So जब यूक्रेन की मैं फोटोग्राफ्स देखती हूँ तो मुझे सबसे ज्यादा है वर्क विथ यूएन, एंड आई हैव फेल्ट दैट व्हेनेवर देयर इज अ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, वर्स्ट अफेक्टेड पॉपुलेशन इज वुमेन पॉपुलेशन, चिल्ड्रन पॉपुलेशन. और ये मैंने अपनी आंखों से देखा है कि एक परिवार, एक अगर महिला परेशान होती है तो एक पूरा परिवार परेशान होता है. और यूक्रेन की वो सारी ये फोटोग्राफ्स जहाँ पे महिलाएं परेशान हो रही हैं, बच्चों के प्राण पड़े हुए हैं, तो वो मुझे लगता है कि ऐसी जगहों पर महिलाएं बहुत ज्यादा प्रभावित होती हैं, बहुत ज्यादा उनको असर होता है. तो रामी जी, आई वांटेड टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ द कॉन्फ्लिक्ट इम्पैक्ट्स वुमेन, especially in northeast context.
I think that's a really important question because, like you said, no matter what happens, the impact is always on women. No matter what I've studied, whether it's demographic change, whether it's conflict, whether it's the political situations changing, then women have always borne the brunt for it, have always been in the forefront. Of course, the impact of conflict is just not on women, it's also on men, it's on children, it's, on minority communities in the region. But I'll give you an example from when I went to Manipur, and we were studying the demographic change there, and I came across women who had lost their husbands and in conflict, and they were insurgents. And she said, we didn't know what to do because our families threw us out of the house because we had 3 children, husbands dead. They don't want to get involved in any legal issues that are going to come towards them, once the investigation of that issue starts. The parents don't now consider them their own family. So they were overnight thrown onto the roads because they said, we don't want to get into this jhanjat of abhi IB aayega, abhi hame investigation ke liye le jayega. These women were on the roads. They had nowhere to go. Neighbors would not help them. Society did not come forward. Yes, there were a couple of organizations, but sadly so, some of the organizations were proselytizing organizations. So it was not for the sake of we want to help you, but if you convert, we will then, give you all these facilities, which is give you free education, give your children English education, give you some sort of employment, whatever small employment it was, and that is what they were compelled to do. Now, there is nothing wrong with any sort of conversion processes as long as it's a spiritual experience. Religion itself is a spiritual experience. But when it becomes an exploitative force, where you're doing it because you realize that somebody is in the need for the charity that you are able to provide them, to me it becomes morally a very debatable question. And I think this is the problem that I have seen with my own eyes. The other parts of conflict that I have seen is, like I mentioned earlier on, is the kind of impact that illegal immigration has had. This sort of illegal immigration is not just people coming in and settling down and merging with the society. No, this is very different. This is not what we see in Delhi. This is not what we see in some parts. There's ghettoization. There are areas that law and order, there's a complete breakdown of law and order. I remember in Kaziranga, huge tracts of land, and Kaziranga is not state land, it's national land, was occupied by illegal immigrants newspapers like the Sentinel, reporters from there, or law and order functionaries could not enter these areas. This was the level of ghettoization. And that is why a lot of times to retrieve girls who have been picked up for trafficking is really difficult, because there's a complete breakdown of law and order. Now, I'm only taking the example of Assam because statistics are more available from Assam, but other states face the same sort of issues, they aren't any different. Having said that, I think it's also important to realize that a lot of changes are coming. Everything is not doomsday prophecy. The government in Assam has done a lot of women-centric programs, which I think have come very late, but I'm glad that they've come, which may include cracking down on love jihad, cracking down on land jihad, cracking down on trafficking. The biggest haul of where they caught drugs coming in from Myanmar was in Assam, across the country, in the last 6 months. So, these kind of steps are being taken, and I'm glad we've reached this point. And I have I find myself fortunate because I can compare situation from 2008 to, now 2022, and I can tell you there's a world of difference. And if we continue at this pace, we continue having deliberations like this in major cities, not just Delhi, but Chennai, Bangalore, creating awareness. I think we should have deliberations like this in the Northeast, so that we get an opportunity to come and understand situations from your end. So I think there are limitations, but I think we are proving to ourselves that there are ways and means to overcome these limitations.
She wanted to add something.
To that, I think I can't do justice if I don't talk about politics. I have to talk about it a little bit. And I think, though we talk about the women power also in the Northeast region, it is high time that we see more representation of women in politics. And I think the number, and this is such a paradox actually, is that you see them doing very well maybe in other spheres, but when it comes to political participation, the number is very low. And I just mentioned also that we are glad that as we're talking, we've got, from Nagaland, one representation was a woman, the PGP's president there. But I think we need more numbers. We need that ratio to really go high. And when that comes, I think many of these other things, and I'm glad that some of these very pertinent points, Rami, you have touched upon, including the trafficking part, the violence part, that, again, I would say that media also has to really go there, understand, report, of course, with a lot of responsibility and understanding things which are there. So media's eye and focus is also very important to go on Northeast.
I have a question for the audience. Taking that thought forward, I will say whenever there's this list released, CBSE के toppers, हमेशा लड़कियां top 5 में क्यों होती हैं? CBSE 10th आप देख लीजिए, 12th देख लीजिए. So whenever this list is released, then I have 2 sons, and I'll tell them, देखा लड़कियां देखिए and all this. And उसके बाद जब UPSC की और IIT की list निकलती है, लड़के top में जाते हैं. ऐसा क्यों?
I think the girls are more focused. The family, so these girls are more serious, and the boys are more wandering here and there.
तो फिर CBSE में टॉप कर रहे हैं, फिर IIT में और UPSC में टॉप नहीं कर रहे हैं, लड़कियां पीछे चली जाती हैं. सडनली एक आप देखिएगा बहुत शॉकिंग सा एक फिनोमेनन है. I don't know, but I always find, because I have something to say about this. लड़कियां, yeah, please.
In terms of critical learning,
Ma'am, I want to say that schools are in the vicinity of your home. So, ma'am, when you see there are schools are very near to your houses. Okay, so you can go to school, but you cannot go Delhi or nearby cities if your parents don't allow or they don't pay for it. Okay, so there is a point, if there is a woman or a student who gets this opportunity to, she's a topper in school, but what happens that she doesn't reach to do her master's or her PhD because you think that after a certain age she has to get married. So the gentleman also talked about critical critical thinking, all the time when you are told that you speak less or you be in a certain way. Also, your brother and you go to the same school, but if you come back and there's a dinner table, you are the only one who will go to the kitchen and bring the chapatis to the table. There is a TV serial going on, you both are interested. But if your father comes home and you have to get the water, it's you who will stand up and go to the kitchen. I think it's the father, because I'm not saying that son will go. It's like both of them can go. There should be this equality that anyone can stand up and go. There should not be that if you are sitting on the chair and some elder comes in, it's the daughter who gets up. Okay, you sit. So this is the conditioning in most of our. I'm not talking about all the homes out there, but most of them. Also, why do not they top in UPSC? They do top in UPSC. You take the result of. Yes, ma'am, कम होती है, पूरे रिजल्ट में भी कम होती हैं. बट इसका रीजन बहुत बड़ा यही है कि कितने लोग जो टॉप करते हैं उनको आगे की अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलती है कि वो आगे पढ़ पाए, या बहुत मतलब I have an example. I had a friend from my college. She was hell brilliant. I would say she was hell brilliant, but her father, he used to say that you don't participate in co-curriculars because he knew that she would bring so many prizes. She used to hide them so that my father couldn't see it. So you have to understand that they have brilliance, but how many women, if 100 there are 100 toppers, but how many of them get the chance to go to Delhi, to go to coaching institutes, not only coaching institutes, just to step out of their own cities or the hometowns to get that sufficient knowledge or the training to get into the proper topmost positions. If you take the example of quota, how many, if there is a classroom of 200 students, how many women do you see there? There will be... Yes, ma'am. There are finances involved if there are son and daughter. Obviously, most of the families, if we just take the 10 years younger parents, those 10 years elder parents from those who are in 40s or 45 maybe, they used to prefer their son, okay, he has to do those certain finances has to be assigned to him, and you go for something else, or he has to do. So sometimes these things comes, and many a times there is also a lack of critical thinking because of the conditioning there.
Very good. Thank you so much. I wanted something, some man because boy to understand it. आपका क्या सोचना है? ये जो उन्होंने प्रॉब्लम की जेन्युइन प्रॉब्लम है कि हम लोग की हैंगओवर है,
बिल्कुल जेन्युइन प्रॉब्लम है. और एक्चुअली यही बात मैं कहना चाहता था. तो सारे वर्ड्स उन्होंने कह दिया है, लेकिन इसके पीछे एक बहुत बड़ी वजह ये है कि मैं जिस सोसाइटी से आता हूँ, एक्चुअली मैं भी यूपीएससी के लिए प्रिपरेशन करना चाहता था, पर मेरे पास भी पैसे नहीं थे, समझ रहे हैं. तो क्या है कि घर में अगर एक सर्टेन लिमिटेड फाइनेंस अवेलेबल होता है तो सबसे पहली प्रायोरिटी होती है कि बेटे को दे दे, क्योंकि पापा की ही नहीं, दादा की और फोर फादर्स की भी मेंटेलिटी यही रही कि बेटी जो ब्याह करके चली जाएगी तो फिर आगे का कैसे होगा. आप जानते हैं 3 तरह की ऐषणा होती है, उसमें पुत्र ऐषणा भी होती है, लोकेशणा है. तो क्या है कि हम बेटे से एसोसिएशन इसलिए ज्यादा होता है कि शादी के बाद मैक्सिमम चांसेस है कि वो साथ रहेगा. होगा या नहीं होगा, वृद्धाश्रम में जाना पड़ेगा, वो दूसरी चीज है, पर एक चीज एसोसिएटेड होती है इमोशनली कि बेटा साथ देगा, समझ रहे हैं. तो सबसे पहली प्रायोरिटी बेटा आता है. और दूसरा जो स्टीरियोटाइप जिसको ब्रेक करने के लिए आप लोग बैठते हैं हमेशा, तो वो तो हमेशा से रहा है कि भाई बेटी को पढ़ा देंगे तो क्या होगा, कैसे करके. तो मेजर मेरा फोकस यही है कि बेटे प्रायोरिटी में इसलिए होते हैं. पर ये आप मानते हैं कि अगर बेटी को पढ़ाएंगे तो परिवार पढ़ेगा, बेटे को पढ़ाएंगे तो केवल. बिल्कुल सहमत हूँ, और इसलिए मैं अटेंड करने आया हूँ. और नया हर बार जब भी घर में झगड़े इस बात पे हमारे होते हैं कि मैं हमेशा बच्चों को पढ़ाती हूँ, माई हस्बैंड विल नॉट टीच माई किड्स, कि नहीं तुम कर लो, बहुत आप बिजी. तो हम लोग जो देते हैं परिवार को वो अनमैचेबल है. वो मुझे लगता है कि उस चीज को रिकॉग्नाइज जिस दिन से आप लोग करने लग जाएंगे कि एक महिला को पढ़ाएंगे तो परिवार पढ़ेगा. नहीं, आप जो कह रही है वो आपको नहीं कहना चाहिए, हमें ही कहना चाहिए, क्योंकि सच में जो है. वांटेड टू से समथिंग.
एक और बात ये है कि मुझे लगता है कि लड़कियों की शादी के ऊपर भी बहुत वो दिया जाता है कि एक लड़की की शादी के ऊपर भी कितना खर्चा होगा. तो एक फैमिली का जो डिवीजन होता है फाइनेंस का वो ये भी होता है कि लड़कियों की शादी पे खर्चा करेंगे और लड़के के पढ़ाई पे खर्चा करेंगे।
वेरी राइट।
तो ये भी है क्योंकि एक तो डाउरी का भी हमें मालूम ही है कि प्रेशर ज्यादातर लड़कियों के ऊपर ही आता है। तो वो जो लड़कियों के ऊपर जो उनको हम सोशलाइज करते हैं कि वो सुंदर लगे, वो सुशील रहे, उनके ऊपर क्या अच्छा लगेगा, ये उनके कपड़ों और उनकी समझ से ज्यादा उनके कपड़े या उनके उस पे हम लोग ज्यादा ध्यान देते हैं फैमिलीज में भी। तो ये भी एक चीज है जो हमें अपनी सोशलाइजेशन में एक चीज करनी पड़ेगी।
I think you made a very brilliant point. So have the others. You know, we've managed to encapsulate exactly what the realities of life are. You know, to talk about idealistic scenarios are easy, but I'd just like to add one more thing here. Who raises these boys? Women raise these boys. You know, it is us who would potentially be able to provide the right kind of support to other women, because we understand what we have gone through. We understand the sacrifices we have. On the contrary, I'm sure this is not a personal experience, but this is a shared experience, that you will find women being unnecessarily more judgmental of other women. You will find them being competitive with other women. For what reason? You know, considering that we have shared experiences, this should be a support circle. Even when we talk about mothers, I know a lot of mothers from educated families who themselves are MAs and, you know, PhDs. But when it comes down to this mentality, they don't change. It's almost like I have suffered, so you must suffer. अरे हमने इतने मेहनत से हम सब कुछ करते थे, you know, हम हाथ से कपड़े धोते थे, तुम वॉशिंग मशीन से क्यों धो? I mean, what sort of competition is this?
So I have an answer for this. So इसको हम जेंडर स्टडीज जो पढ़ा थोड़ा, उसमें ये कहते हैं पेट्रियार्कल कॉन्स्पिरेसी। ये कॉन्स्पिरेसी है जहाँ पे ऐसा एक कंस्ट्रक्ट बनाया गया है that, you know, and I'm sorry to use this term because I hate doing it, but still जो एक सास बहू वाला हमेशा एक एपिसोड चलाता है, वो इसी का हिस्सा है। इसका ये हिस्सा ये नहीं है कि वो सास ने सोचा बहू के खिलाफ, बहू ने कहा, it's not that. It's because through the chain, the patriarchy has pressurized you into a thinking wherein you behave like that, and that's sad actually. And हमको अगर उस ट्रैप को हम खासकर विमेन समझ जाएंगी तो सब ठीक हो जाएगा। आप लोगों ने शायद एक वीडियो देखा होगा, वो कहती है कि मैं चाय नहीं बनाऊंगी और वो देख बनाएगी करके दोनों ही बैठ जाती हैं। The man finally says कि मैं ही बना लेता हूँ। So, you know, women have to do, outreach and solidarity again is a word. हमको समझना पड़ेगा कि हमने join hands किया, अगर solidarity दिखाई तो बहुत सारी समस्याएं हल हो जाएंगी, जरूर होगा।
Is anybody here from Manipur? So you must be very aware of the Ima market. I think Ima market is by far one of the greatest examples of women's solidarity. It is run by women in by far one of the most effective ways I've ever seen. And it is the oldest such market in Asia. Now look at how they function. You know, they put it together, it's their funding, it's their management, it's seamless. All artisans have their own places which is allotted to them, you know, and they bring handicrafts and whatever. You know, I've seen women bring honey from their villages and they make these long treks to come to Ima market and sell these products. Now, Ima market anywhere in the world would have become a standard to follow, except we've not been able to market it. Number two, if women can run a market like this for over a century, trust me, you open the lines of online market to them, and the mobile phone connectivity in the Northeast is one of the highest in anywhere in the country. So you open the online market to them, you give them capacity training, and this is where I would hold the skill ministry responsible, you know, because this is their job. And you will find the financial independence in the Northeast like you've never seen before, because every house has a weaver, every house has a person who understands handicrafts. And handicrafts, let me tell you, is the second largest employer in the country after agriculture. And this is how we treat this industry. So all I'm saying is, you give a woman an inch, you don't need to handhold her, she'll find her way through.
I want to add something.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, because like let him speak, sir. Yeah, I know that it's the mic. It's fine. Yeah. Hi. I just wanted to add.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, I just wanted to add, like here there are people who are talking about women, kya shoshan ho raha hai and all that stuff. But my family, my grandfather started a girls' school, the first school in Haryana, and he was doing widow remarriage in 40s, 30s. And my mother comes from, again, the Vaishya Education Society. So I felt my parents, they were educated enough. So I and my sister, whenever they bought property, so they've got 2 flats, they've got 2 everything. So it's equally done. And after losing my parents, so people say, all you've inherited. So why you need to give it to your sister? So I've told, no, it's got to be shared between both of us. So this is the way, it means it's the thinking of the person. So maybe my example could, work
आप
with the
बिल्कुल
crowd.
सही
here.
बोल रहे हैं, बिल्कुल सही बोल रहे हैं. अभी एक कॉलेज में मैं बोलने गई थी तो मुझे लगा, मैंने उनसे ही बच्चों को, गर्ल्स को कन्वे किया, वी आर वेरी एम्पावर्ड. थोड़े से जो हिस्टोरिकल इंटरप्शंस आए हैं, इसकी वजह से धूल थोड़ी चढ़ गई है, तो हमको ऐसा बस धूल झाड़ना है. वी आर एम्पावर्ड. हम लोग को तो शक्ति माना ही गया है, एंड परिवारों को बांधने का काम हमने किया है. तो ऐसा कुछ हमको नहीं है. वी आर वेरी एम्पावर्ड. इट इज जस्ट अबाउट डस्टिंग, little bit of dusting. You want to say something?
Yeah.
And then after this we will sum it up. Yeah.
Ma'am, I want to say that we don't need women empowerment actually. We just need to recognize their role in our society.
Very good.
Very good.
Thank you.